Hello and welcome to the Gooner Tool, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Tactical Breakdown series, a show in which we look at the players that Arsenal are linked to, even though we aren't currently in a transfer window, and give you the latest insight and statistics and facts around those players so you can be as educated as feasibly possible ahead of a possible signature, which we still may have to wait some months for. But it's always good to get clued up on these guys and know the right way to talk about them, because effectively what I find is the education of this show has helped plenty of people mean that they're not wrongly slating or criticising or praising these players on social media, and I think that helps a lot of people with that. So it's a pleasure to be able to do it, and obviously the people that come on the show and help out with it too. It's a great pleasure to speak to them as well. And that definitely goes for today's show as we talk about Orkun Kökçü, who is a Feyenoord 19-year-old Turkish centre midfielder that can play in a multitude of positions in the midfield, in the central part of the midfield. So Arsenal are looking for one. This is a name that had not cropped up on my radar until a few days ago, and honestly, I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. And that is one of the best things about doing this show, is that I get to do a little bit of research and speak to some people that certainly do know that. So before we jump to that, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and turn those notifications on so you never miss a show. And if you'd like to become a member and get involved with some exclusive content, as well as your own icons and badges that make you stand out in our comment section and live chats, then click that join button in the description below. So let's jump straight into things, and as always with these shows, we like to get the expert insight, and my God, have I got you some expert insight this week from the very popular video game Football Manager. We have got the head Dutch researcher Jeroen Thijssen, who is going to give you all of the insight around Kökçü. So take it away, Jeroen.
Hey everybody, my name is Jeroen Thijssen. I am a 39-year-old Dutchman based in Den Haag, the Netherlands. I am mostly responsible for the Dutch research for the computer game Football Manager. I am the only head of Dutch research. The guys at Gooner Talk asked me to give a quick talk, give a quick opinion on Kökçü, the Orkun Kökçü, the Feyenoord midfielder. Here's something that I've sent forward. As you guys the Gooner Talk are doing a piece on him, I will give a bit of an estimation on the player. We Dutch like to call spades spades, and I don't think that Arsenal should sign him, or at least not now. He's a good player in the Eredivisie at this moment. It's his first real full season in the first team of Feyenoord. He did play a bunch of games last season towards the end of the season, but he has progressed into being a regular starter at this moment. But he's only 19 years old, and it's too soon right now. Provided perhaps if Arsenal sign him and loan him back out to Feyenoord, for example, straight away next season. I can see that work. If I were Feyenoord, then I would not be happy with a 10-15 million pound transfer fee. I would be looking at probably double the money. Kökçü, I see in him a definite Turkish international in a few years' time. He is talented. If we progress 3, 4, 5 seasons in the future, I do think he'll be a decent and established player. Not sure if he's gonna be a good Arsenal player. That's a big ask, but he should be a good player from the Premiership. Not at this moment. Give him 1, maybe 2 more seasons to properly develop, and then he should have made enough steps to be a good player. So he's a central midfield player, quite attacking minded. He can play as an 8, can play as a 10. Doesn't shy away from his defensive tasks. So if needed, he could also perhaps fill the 6 role, but I see him as an 8, maybe a 10. Very good technical, 2-footed player. Exciting player to watch. He's got the technique, he's got good dribble, good first touch. Isn't scared when he's got the ball. He'll look for creative solutions. He's agile. He's really one of those shorter midfielders. He's 1 meters and 75 centimeters, so that will be 5'8", I guess. One of those typical Dutch creative players that is technically strong, pretty much 2-footed, predominantly right-footed, but can do plenty with left. He's creative, isn't slow, agile player, who can really get some things going. He's a good passer of the ball, good distribution, and is clever enough to bag a few goals. He's not going to be a 20 goal player, but he should be capable of scoring a decent amount of goals as well. Once he develops, he scored 5 goals in 29 matches. This is not spectacular, but if he improves on that area as well, he could. I could see him score 8 to 10 goals a season. But for the most part, I mean, he is still very young. Is developing his game, and if he improves on that area as well, then he could be a very, very useful player indeed. He's a good creative passing player. He's not slow, he's not very fast, but he's decent speed. Very good technical player. If he improves on his attacking skills, his finishing, defensive can be a little bit better, but he's predominantly an 8, maybe even a creative 10, so it's not key that he's a fantastic marker, but if we do want to see him progress to an 8 role that sometimes falls back into a 6 role, then he needs to work on his defense. He's quite short, so he's not really going to be a very strong player, that does mean that he's not a good header of the ball, but overall he's a very talented player that I can see develop further in the next few seasons. I would like to see him at Feyenoord for, let's say, 1 more season, and then I think it's a good step forward. But he's being pursued by the bigger clubs, and I see him not a definite starter for your Arsenals and your Premier Division players, but in 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons' time, he can definitely be an established player in the Premiership, I believe. Right, cheers.
Huge thank you to Jeroen for taking the time out of his evening to help us with that. He was severely jet lagged, he told me. So even more appreciative of that fact that he was able to give us some insight too, and I hope you can get back to reality very soon, Jeroen. But I mean, I kind of tend to agree with what he said, having looked into Orkun Kökçü a little bit more. It does seem that he needs that little bit more development, but that doesn't mean that it's going to stop us from going into the statistics on the player and giving you some insight. So we always like to start with our trusty heat map, and here it is. So if you look at the screen, you can clearly see that this central midfielder favours that left-hand side, and the player that's typically on the left-hand side at the moment for Arsenal is Granit Xhaka. So if this is a long-term option for Mikel Arteta to replace Granit Xhaka, well, my God, he's got a bit of a job on his hands to succeed this guy, and a bit of pressure too. Jeroen did mention how he likes to play at number 10 as well, which is also something that we could see Arsenal needing in the future of Mesut Ozil's time at the Gunners probably coming to an end. But in terms of the heat map, you can clearly see from there he's all over the pitch. He likes to be free, he likes to move, but he does favour that left-hand side. Let's have a look at some of the statistics of his attacking stats. 3 goals and 3 assists so far this season for Feyenoord. He's become a regular fixture in the side at 19 years old, which is impressive, and he does like to take a couple of shots in each game, and with 40% of those going on target. And as you can see from the graphic there, those shots are being taken from all around. A fair few in the box. He does like to get into the box, as we'll talk about some of those touches in a second. but he does like to take some shots from outside the box as well, some variation in that. I'm not sure how much that would translate to Arsenal were he to sign. Arsenal don't typically like to shoot too much from outside the box. But the fact that he's getting in there and taking those touches, which you can see 1.95 touches in the box as well, shows that he is of an attacking nature. He likes to move forwards, he likes to get forward. Crosses, he's not a wide player, so we don't expect too many of those, but he does still find time in the game to manage over one of those in each, with a 50% accurate on those. Dribbles, 2.62, can dribble the ball, but only with a 46% success rate. Very young player playing in a competitive league, I feel, the Eredivisie. So I'm sure that statistic, as Orkun Kökçü develops, we will see that percentage rise. Offensive duels, nearly just over 6.5 offensive duels per game, with again 40%, around that 40% mark in terms of the amount of times that he wins them, which is fairly impressive for a 19-year-old centre midfielder, and certainly a reason why Arsenal may be gleaning some interest in the Turkish player. Passing statistics, 47 passes in each game with an 84.6% pass accuracy is very strong. Long passes, over nearly 2.5 in each game with a 62% accuracy, very decent. We like to see those long passing accuracies in the 60% for a player of his development stage at the moment. Through passes 1.41, not so great with the accuracy of a 23.5, so that's certainly an area that he needs to work on. Crosses we've mentioned already. Passes into the final third, this is a really interesting one for me. He likes to break those lines and get Feyenoord on the attack, and nearly 8 are being made in each game with an 80.7 success rate in terms of accuracy. That is very strong, very impressive. I'm liking that. Passes into the box, 3 in each game with a 60% success rate. Very, very strong there too. Very liking that. He receives the ball on average about 38 times in each game, but the ratio more than double in a positive favour, which I am very much an advocate of seeing from our midfielders. We don't like those midfielders that just pass side to side. We like ones that want to bring the play forward. So with 15.33 to 7.85 in terms of forward to backward passes, 76% in terms of forward accuracy, and you'd expect a very high back pass accuracy of 94% to be there, so very strong in that area too. Defensive statistics, 6.44 defensive duels, and he's winning 50% of them. As a centre midfielder at Arsenal, you are going to be called upon heavily to get involved in plenty of defensive duels, so it's good to see that he's getting in there with those. Aerial duels, he's not the type of guy for me that's getting involved with too many of those in each game. And same with those sliding tackles, 0.25 with a 50% success rate, so it's here and there. And that does sort of lead to the fouls that he is making, which you can see 1.91 fouls in each game, and that's down to development. The level of development he's at, it's down to maturity, and eventually he will become better. I'd like to see the interception side of things a bit higher. 1.37 is a little bit low for a central midfield player for me. I would like to see that statistic a little bit higher. Losses, nearly or over 9 of those in each game, with 32% of those being in his own half. And for a guy that is 19 years old, as we have mentioned already, I am fine with that. That is not something I'd be too critical of. I would expect to see losses drop and the percentage of those in his own half sort of creep lower, but I wouldn't expect it to drop too much lower than 32%. As a player who is deeper as a number 8, but can play as a number 10, maybe we'd start to see those in his own half dropping ever so slightly. Recoveries though, over 4 in each game, 54.5% of the opposition half, very strong. We'd see that number creep up for sure as a player worried to move to the Premier League, I feel. Blocks and crosses aren't really part of a fixture in his game, and yellow cards 0.17 in each match, so you're looking at nearly 1 in 5 games for yellow cards, which, you might say that's a bit high, but when you compare it to what we've got already, we know that discipline is a bit of an issue sometimes. But Mikel Arteta wants these players to make fouls, and professional fouls, and break up attacks, so maybe we'd see that yellow card percentages increase were he to move to Arsenal. So there you go, there you have it. That is all of the statistics you could look at in terms of Orkun Kökçü. So I'm really intrigued for you to let me know what you think about this guy. I'm sure you can find plenty of videos on him on YouTube which will make him look like Messi, of course, but I'm hoping that this insight has given you some extra info and some education on a player that even myself did not know existed about a week or so ago. So for instance, I hope that is very helpful for you. Again, massive thank you to Jeroen, Thijssen, for helping out with today's show. You can go check out his link to Twitter in the description, and go check out Football Manager. I know that we've probably got plenty of players on here already, but if you haven't, It's an amazing game and you should definitely go and check it out. Thank you ever so much for listening. We will be back very, very soon with another video as soon as Arsenal are linked to another player. And if there are any players that you would like to see us look at maybe, and you think that you could see Arsenal being linked to, on the days where those links are quiet, we're definitely going to do some shows on players that we think Arsenal should be going for. So let's have some suggestions in the chat box. If you'd like to become a member and get more involved with the show, you can click the join button in the description too. And other than that, please give the show a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.